The ANC's Secretary-General Fikile Mablula is addressing the media following the ANC Lekgotla. Let's take you live to that.
24 at the Beachwood Hotel, OR Tambo Conference Center in Boksburg. This was the first ordinary meeting of the NEC after the 2024 national and provincial elections. The National Executive Committee focused extensively on the analysis of the elections results, the ideological currents that are playing out in the country as expressed in the elections outcomes, and the issues that the ANC must focus on to defend and advance the agenda of progressive social transformation. Election results and 2024 moment. The NEC characterized the outcome of the 2024 national and provincial elections as a significant setback for the national democratic revolution since the 1994 democratic breakthrough. In the engagements with the alliance partners and our provinces, this NEC conclusion has been reaffirmed as a correct characterization of the profound nature of the setback, significant, fundamental, and strategic. In diagnosing the moment, the ANC NEC agrees that the national fault lines of unemployment, inequality, and poverty have persisted despite progress over the past 30 years, with serious negative impacts on all segments of the motive forces. These fault lines in our economy have been exacerbated over the last 5 years by crises such as the effect of the COVID pandemic, the impact of the July 2021 unrest, load shedding, geopolitical tensions that have disrupted global supply chains, and the resultant high cost of living. The election results, which saw the ANC not receiving a decisive majority, were therefore as a result of three interrelated and intersecting factors: crisis of the economy and social reproduction, profound governance weaknesses, and major organizational problems that can be addressed through fundamental renewal. South Africans were therefore unequivocal in expressing their disappointment and disapproval of our performance in these areas, giving rise to a crisis of democracy with close to 25 million people not participating in the elections. The 2024 moment therefore requires from us to internalize the messages from the people and to continue to self-correct. The principal crisis confronting the national democratic revolution is a national economy that reproduces inequality, poverty, underdevelopment, and slow levels of growth in a manner that frustrates the social circumstances of the urban working class, the middle class, and especially the rural poor. This characterization of the electoral setback implies that it has strategic implications and far-reaching consequences on the conduct of the struggle, both in terms of how we govern the affairs of the organization and how we govern the affairs of the country. It can therefore not be business as usual, both in the ANC and in government. As the party with the largest votes, the ANC seized both the tactical and strategic initiative and shaped a common understanding about the need for political parties to work together and voluntarily cooperate in setting up an inclusive, viable, and stable government that will address people's needs and advance the transformation agenda. It became clear that no other party has the capacity and legitimacy of the ANC to give direction to the nation. Even those who were fiercely opposed to the movement during the election started to make frantic calls that South Africa needs the ANC to move out of a political electoral stalemate. the coalition chaos, institutional instability, and government dysfunction, which has been the order of the day in our country's municipal landscape, must never be allowed to define the overall state of affairs in our country. The ANC is in the driving seat of a more stable GNU that has adopted principles and minimum program that derives from the Constitution of South Africa. ANC court documents such as the Freedom Charter and the 2024 Election Manifesto. The task now is for ANC members and leaders to conduct themselves with utmost humility, integrity, and demonstrable competence in addressing the needs of the people. The NEC resolved that we must use this moment to also shed all signs of complacency and arrogance, to be totally intolerant of corruption and incompetence. This moment will also require a more agile and dynamic ANC machinery that can hold individual deployees and leadership collectives accountable to specific outcomes in the ANC manifesto. We must use the deployment to positions in the state for nothing other than pursuing the ideals of liberation to which millions remain committed. The NEC recognizes that the GNU is our best tactical intervention that provides us with a platform to defend the gains of freedom and advance the core elements of the ANC manifesto. The NEC is fully aware that GNU is inherently with risks. This arises from the understanding that GNUs and coalitions have inherent contradictions as contested governments, composed of rival parties that have ideological and policy differences. The balance of power and how the ANC emerges as a dominant political force in the long run will depend significantly on how we pursue a strategic course of action inside and outside government, mobilizing the motive forces behind a clear program of action for progressive change. The NEC will put in place measures to ensure that the GNU is managed effectively in order to succeed in addressing the pressing challenges facing the people. We will start a process of drafting a perspective, including the question of perspective that we have adopted that will be distributed to our membership and be debated across our structures throughout the country. Having concluded that the election outcome constituted a major setback, the NEC had a revolutionary duty to answer the question, what is to be done? Implementing our manifesto and accountability monitoring and evaluation framework, the Department of Policy Monitoring, Evaluation and Research of the ANC at headquarters, working with the manifesto monitoring technical team of the Alliance, have developed an outcomes and accountability framework for our 2024 manifesto. The quarterly reports on implementation of our manifesto will be submitted to the Secretary General's office, and the SGO will be central in ensuring that all deployed cadres deliver on their mandates with regularized assessment processes. The NEC emphasized that proactive monitoring and evaluation will constitute important task, given that the GNU will not be business as usual, in order to fulfill our electoral mandate entailed in the election manifesto as well as ANC National Conference resolutions. On the national dialogue, the NEC noted and welcomed that the national dialogue will be convened post the NEC Lekgotla as resolved by the ANC NEC and recommended by various stalwarts and foundations such as former President Thabo Mbeki. The national dialogue will seek to foster national cohesion and social compact as we champion the national democratic revolution, consolidate the gains of democracy and accelerate realization of the objectives of the national democratic society as highlighted in the ANC strategy and tactics. The NEC fully supports the convening of the national dialogue, which must be led by civil society and presidency of the country, but those modalities on how it will be convened will be worked out to ensure inclusivity. Formal report back to engagement with the provinces. The National Executive Committee started the process of engaging all our provinces on the outcome of the Government of National Unity, and the NEC directed that we must continue with this briefing to all our regions across the country. The National Executive Committee noted and welcomed the fact that briefings on the GNU negotiations have been conducted with the alliance partners, the SACP and COSATU. COSATU affiliate SAMU was also briefed on their request in relation to this, and also briefing will be done with SANCO. The NEC further noted that the alliance partners were briefed on the intricate negotiations process imposed by the hung outcome of the national and provincial elections. The Alliance's Secretariat later met and discussed issues of unity within the Alliance, as well as evaluation of the post of the elections program. The strategic focus of the GNU and related implications resolved that most of these issues will be dealt with at the Political Council of the Alliance. The ANC membership system will be updated. The membership system is receiving urgent attention with the aim of restoring its online operations and therefore will help resolve membership backlogs. The NEC welcomed the continued strengthening of membership system to ensure that it responds to and serves the organizational interest of the ANC in the broader context of ongoing organizational renewal and building a strong organization that is one with the masses of our people in their daily struggles. There were spurious reports that were spreading in social networks that the membership system of the ANC had collapsed. This is far from the truth. The fact of the matter, there is an exchange of and transition of the old service provider to the new. Now that the old service provider have implemented the new membership system of the ANC, and it has undergone a rigorous process of evaluation and so on. That process have come to an end, and the membership in terms of its IP and all of that will be given to the ANC, and that is the transitional process that will be implemented. A special National Executive Committee will be convened to address issues of renewal as well as approach to state of organization as we move towards the General Council. But the special NEC will also address matters of integrity commission, matters of terms of reference, step aside, strengthening, and all of that. So that meeting will be convened within the next 2 to 3 weeks. The NEC resolved on strategy and tactics to implement the conference resolution on processing the strategy and tactics document based on the directive of the 55th conference. We will convene a special meeting that will focus on matters of judicial commission of inquiry into allegations of state capture, corruption, and fraud in the public sector, including organs of state. As part of the continued renewal of the organization, there will be a dedicated meeting of the NEC to process these matters. On gender equality, the NEC discussed the implications of the 60-40 and directed that the provinces that have not implemented this must implement 60-40 gender parity as a matter of urgency. And the provinces that are affected is Northwest and Mpumalanga. All our provinces where we are in charge have implemented this. This is not out of their own making, these provinces. It is because of the understanding of the directive that was given by the NEC that where this parity extends to the legislatures, where a man is a premier, the parity must extend to the legislatures, which is what has actually applied. But the NEC have emphasized that this 60-40 is strictly for executive and it must be reflected as such. The ANC application for leave to appeal against the judgment of the High Court in Durban regarding the illegal use of MK logo set down for hearing on Thursday 1st, and the recent verdict being that leave for appeal to the SCA was granted. The NEC reiterated its full support for the restoration of its historic heritage, such as the use of the name Umkhonto Wesizwe. The ANC knows that over 95 Libyan nationals were arrested in Mpumalanga in what is reported to be a military camp. The ANC urges the South African National Defence, Home Affairs and Border Management Agency to strengthen their efforts at ensuring South Africa's borders, as well as all our ports of entry, to combat all acts of illegality. The ANC welcomed the outcome of the presidential elections in Venezuela amidst reports of violence, with President Maduro successfully re-elected. Again, the ANC respects the self-determination of all countries across the world and condemns any external intrusion. The ANC accordingly congratulates President Maduro for his re-election as President of Venezuela. The ANC welcomed the smooth schools nationwide reopening following the mid-year break without any adverse incidents. However, the ANC was devastated with the news regarding the death of 12 learners. The ANC further condemns the murder of the 46-year-old school teacher Dudu Khumalo, who was gunned down at Phikiswayo Primary School in full view of pupils by unknown gunmen. We call on the Department of Basic Education, working in conjunction with SABC, SGB's community policing forums, local business and all members of community to help safeguard our schools from violence and criminality. On VBS, the account holders of the VBS now want their bank back, and that all due efforts by relevant stakeholders should be made towards ensuring that this bank is restored to full operation and returned to its legitimate owners. The NEC reaffirmed our position that all people implicated for wrongdoing on VBS must be subjected to the full course of the law. Additionally, the NEC committed that the ANC will return any monies proven to have accrued to it unknowingly from the destruction of VBS. On international matters, we reaffirm our position on the solidarity with Palestine, and the main kickoff of the campaign in terms of isolation of Israel was undertaken on the 30th, calling for the isolation of Israel in terms of the Paris Olympics, and this campaign goes beyond the Olympics. On participation at BRICS, the NEC welcomed the African National Congress, participation in Russia at the invitation by the United Russia Party to take part in the International Inter-Party BRICS Partnership Forum, priority action to do more and better during the 7th administration. We convened an NEC Lekgotla, which looked at all issues that pertain to expediting the transformation agenda. The Lekgotla therefore emphasized the need to focus on implementation of decisions. It implored ANC cadres to implement commitments of the ANC manifesto. On priority 1, jobs plan, the NEC Lekgotla reaffirmed the manifesto objectives to expand public employment opportunities targeting youth, not in employment, education and training, and those above the age of 35. This includes Presidential Employment Initiative, SANDAF, National Youth Service Program, Young Women in Defense Industries Apprenticeship, EPWP, and Women in Energy Security, Emerging Industrialists, Accelerator Program, Digital Skills Development Program, and skills development opportunities from SETAs and other programs. through the implementation of overarching industrial policy and master's plans, will increase the number of employed South Africans and a decent job creation. On priority 2, building of industries to achieve an inclusive economy, the NEC Lekgotla reaffirmed the need for comprehensive socio-economic transformation that include fundamental changes in the structure, systems, and institutions to form the economy's ownership, management, and control patterns in favor of all South Africans, for inclusive growth and to address South Africa's employability. Our skills development programs and industrial policy must align with emphasis on increasing the number of young people enrolled in technical education and reskilling workers. Tackling of poverty and high cost of living. To tackle the cost of living, the Lekgotla resolved on interventions to be undertaken at the local government level, maintain and expand subsidized basic services like water, houses for indigent municipalities, provision of free sanitary pads, review the general fuel levy, expand the basket of zero-rated food items, continue social relief of distress grant, roll out solar water heaters, access and review administrative and regulated tariffs, expedite the finalization of transport subsidy. The Lekgotla recommended that poverty initiative should be coordinated at the level of government. On basic education, in terms of investing in people, the Lekgotla supports strengthening ongoing initiatives to improve reading and numeracy of learners in public schools and curriculum reforms to ensure school leavers are equipped to play a productive role in the economy and society. It resolved on the significance of the Bella Bill being enacted as law, strengthening the school nutrition program to address hunger and learning outcomes, completing the process of eradication of pit latrines in schools, improve provisions on scholar transport, integration of ICT, coding and robotics, and artificial intelligence into our curriculum, strengthening teacher development and support, ensure universal access to quality early child development by 2030, and fast-track certification from grade 9. On post-school education and training, the Lekgotla resolved on the finalization of the implementation of the student funding model, turnaround strategy for NSFAS funding for the missile middle, triple P in delivering student accommodation, aligning basic and higher education curriculum. On health, the Lekgotla reaffirmed the phased implementation of the National Health Insurance. On priority 5, defend democracy and advance freedom, Lekgotla reaffirmed that a capable and ethical developmental state is critical to the achievement of a better life for all. As a country, we seek to build a developmental state shaped by the history and socio-economic dynamics of South African society to guide national economic development. It will have attributes that include capacity to intervene in the economy in the interest of higher rates of growth, employment creation, inclusion, and sustainable development. On local government, the Lekgotla emphasized the importance of strengthening local government support to address the structural factors impacting the local government sphere of government. The Lekgotla reaffirmed commitment to review the white paper and supporting legislation, capability to implement, review the local government funding model. On fighting crime, GBV, and corruption, the Lekgotla noted South Africa also continues to grapple with issues of high levels of crime. Counter-revolutionary forces have also affected the capacity and capability of critical institutions such as SARS, NPA, crime intelligence. There are serious concerns about the state's capacity to fight crime and violence, as seen in July 2021 unrest. We believe that the process of implementing the outfit in the form of that has been started in terms of fighting organized crime and white-collar crime in our country, like the Scorpions, which is at an advanced stage, must be implemented with the urgency it deserves to fight organized crime, which cripples the economy in a great deal. On communications, the ANC has to ensure that it reconnects with the people, comprehends and handles their concerns, and reorganize structures for better engagement. Every NEC leader, activist and member, every public representative, every deployee and every cadre must consider themselves communicators. On the better Africa and the better world, South Africa remains committed to the principles of solidarity, human rights, anti-colonialism, anti-imperialism, African unity, Pan-Africanism, and contribution towards a stronger, capable SADC and the African Union. Using these principles, South Africa is able to identify partners to collaborate in the pursuit of its foreign policy. The Lekgotla reaffirms the critical role of international relations in the development and growth of South African society. The Lekgotla reaffirms the importance of our BRICS Plus partners. The Lekgotla resolved that South Africa should strengthen economic diplomacy at its embassies in especially BRICS and G7 countries and the African continent, including in strategic locations like the African Union, headquarters, SADC, and other regional economies, as well as the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. The Lekgotla has recognized the significance of our presidency of the G20 and the opportunities that it provides to advance the needs and interests of the African continent. On women and youth, Lekgotla noted that women of our nation have shown that they remain the torchbearers of our democracy. Not only did they represent 55% of those who registered to vote, but they also recorded a 62% turnout, above the national average. Indeed, they are our community builders, playing a vital role in all sectors of our society, even when their contributions are not always recognized or appreciated. The Lekgotla noted that the participation of young people in elections have significantly declined. At the same time, many young people expressed their activism through involvement in a range of community and issue-based movements, eschewing traditional forms of political involvement. In conclusion, the ANC remains committed to accelerate the implementation of all these resolutions, both with regards to building a strong organization steeped in the masses of our people, as well as a robust government implementation program to deliver on our manifesto mandate. We will be publishing a full NEC bulletin detailing all the Lekgotla outcomes, which will be published on all the ANC platforms. The NEC meeting noted with sadness the passing of the following comrades and fellow South Africans: Stanley Prasten Skrima Chabalala, Comrade Tito Maleka, also serving as ANC security at ANC headquarters, iconic cultural professional activist Benji Francis, the 12 learners who died in an accident on their way to school, the learners who perished in a bus collision with a train in Mpumalanga, the members of various families who died due to the adverse weather conditions in the Western Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. The NEC meeting further noted that over 15,000 people were displaced in Western Cape alone. The NEC accordingly resolved to communicate its condolences on this occasion to all those who lost their loved ones. The ANC further urges the provincial governments of the Western Cape and KwaZulu-Natal to continue the support of those displaced by the storms. The ANC wishes the women of South Africa a great Women's Day tomorrow. This day is important in our national calendar as it commemorates the valiant struggles of the women of South Africa in shaping our current reality. It also recognizes the continuing efforts of women to improve the substance of our democracy by insisting on politics of emancipation that is in the interest of humanity as a whole. We also send our condolences to the family of Me Koni, who sadly passed away 2 days ago. She's a veteran of our arts and culture industry and one of the most recognized exports of South Africa to the global film industry, as evidenced by a role in the globally renowned Marvel blockbuster film, Black Panther. This afternoon, I will be leading an ANC delegation to visit the family of Mekoni to officially convey the condolences of the African National Congress. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade SG.
All right, that was the ANC Secretary General Fikile Mablula just giving an outline of the feedback that came from the ANC NEC and Lekgotla that has taken place recently. He did come out with a lot of things. One of the main things that he did say was the ANC's election defeat was a major setback